There are kisses a man will never forget, not because they were powerful, but because they reached a place where almost nobody else reaches, the subconscious. Most people think kissing is simply about attraction or physical chemistry, but what if I told you there are 7 spots on the male body that, when kissed with purpose, create a connection so deep that he simply cannot forget you? This isn't about excessive seduction. This is about touching something most people overlook. His emotional mind, drawing from concepts inspired by Jung, there are subtle forms of contact that activate what he himself cannot explain. The urge to be with you, the feeling of safety, a memory that doesn't fade. Today, I'm going to show you 7 places where a kiss marks not just the skin, but also the masculine heart. And believe me, some of them will surprise you. Most people don't realize it, but there's a type of kiss that penetrates the body and touches the male subconscious directly. A kiss that doesn't need to be seen or announced for its presence to be felt. The truth is, there are parts of the male body that carry much more than just skin and muscles. They carry layers of tension, memories, and a desire for care. And among these parts, few are as overlooked as the nape of the neck. At the nape, he feels even when he's not looking. And perhaps that's exactly why this gesture is so powerful. The absence of vision intensifies the meaning of touch. When you kiss there, you reach him at a level that consciousness doesn't block. He doesn't expect it, doesn't prepare for it, but he feels it. And feeling, in this context, allows something genuine to pierce through all defenses. Many men live as if they need to be constantly in control. They observe, plan, protect, decide. The world demands this from them, but the kiss on the nape comes from the opposite place. It's a silent gesture that asks nothing, requires no response, and proves nothing. It simply exists, and it's precisely in this existence that he might truly relax for the first time. From a psychological perspective inspired by Carl Jung, everything that comes outside the visual field makes direct contact with the unconscious. The nape, being a blind area of the body, becomes a portal for guarded emotions. It's the opposite of what is planned. It's what is felt. And so kisses there activate something primitive and emotional, touching memories he doesn't even know he possesses. They awaken the sensation of maternal care, loving touch, silent belonging, that there with you he can simply exist. And it's not about intensity. The kiss on the nape isn't about obsession or explicit seduction. It's about presence. A presence so deep that time seems slower. A gentle kiss, almost whispered on his skin, manages to say more than words. You don't need to grab him. You need to be close enough for him to feel the warmth of your breath, the moist touch of your lips, the tranquility of your gesture. When this happens, you communicate something very rare, that he can lower his guard, that with you, he doesn't need to be invincible, that he doesn't need to be on constant alert. And it's this sensation that creates a lasting emotional memory. Perhaps he won't remember the date, the clothes you were wearing, or the music that was playing, but he'll remember the feeling the kiss left, that slight shiver that ran down his back, that unexpected comfort that made him want to stop time for a few seconds. And this is, in the end, what every man secretly desires, someone who touches him not out of obligation, but out of love. Someone who doesn't pressure him to be something, but who sees him exactly as he is. A woman who kisses a man on the nape with intention and lightness is saying without words, I'm here, I see you. You don't need to be perfect. Just be yourself. A follower wrote something that perfectly captured this feeling. I always wanted to kiss there, but never knew why. Now I understand. It's the place where he disarms without realizing it. And that's exactly it. It's not about the place itself, but about what that place represents. The end of masks, the beginning of surrender. If you're with him in a relaxed moment, perhaps cooking together, or he's distracted looking at his phone, and you approach gently touching your lips to the base of his neck, right in the middle of the nape, You're not just kissing, you're creating a bond. You're saying, I chose to see you even when you're not trying to show yourself. And this has more value than any memorized phrase or grand gesture. Deep down, every person desires a space where they can be themselves. The man who feels that silent kiss on the nape begins, without knowing why, to want to be closer, not because you did something explosive, but because you touched him authentically. And this authenticity remains. This is what echoes in his thoughts when he's alone. This is what comes back to him in the silence of the bedroom, in traffic, in the middle of a difficult day. The kiss on the nape is simple, but it's in its simplicity that truth resides. He doesn't need to see to feel, and you don't need to explain to transform something. In this lies the beauty of this gesture. It's small, but speaks volumes. It's silent, but unforgettable. It's invisible, but touches the deepest intimacies. The inner part of the arm is one of those places almost nobody pays attention to. It's there, constantly exposed, yet protected, discreet, almost forgotten. But it's precisely this apparent insignificance that makes it one of the emotionally most powerful places for a kiss. Because unlike the more obvious areas, this space between the bicep and forearm carries a silent symbolism that speaks about who the man is and to whom he draws close. Have you noticed how a man instinctively protects this area? How he naturally keeps his arms closed when he's tense or insecure? This isn't coincidence. There in the inner part of the arms are the veins that carry blood from the heart to the rest of the body. It's where biological and emotional vulnerability intertwine. And when you kiss this place softly and intentionally, you're not just offering affection. You're crossing a barrier. You're saying without words, I see your strength, but I also respect your sensitivity. This gesture, though small, has immense symbolic weight. It touches the masculine unconscious in a way he may have never experienced, as if for a moment he didn't need to prove anything, as if his body understood that there with you he can simply be, without defenses, without character, without the pressure of always performing. And this activates something deep, because according to Carl Jung, we all carry archetypes, universal images that shape our feelings and behaviors. And in every man exists the warrior archetype, the one who fights, protects, and wins. But there also exists the lover archetype, the one who desires to be welcomed, recognized, and accepted. Kissing the inner part of the masculine arm unconsciously activates this second archetype, balancing what he was trained to hide with what deep down he most needs to experience. It's interesting to observe how such a gesture resonates. Many women in the comments said it had never occurred to them to kiss there. Some even mentioned a feeling of natural impulse, but never understood why. Now they understand. One wrote, I always found that part beautiful, but thought it made no sense to show affection there. Today I realize it was where I most wanted to touch him, where I most needed to touch him. And it's not about intensity, it's about presence. It's about that kiss that doesn't happen in the heat of passion, but in the warmth of intimacy. A light kiss, conscious, delivered. A kiss that instead of accelerating the moment silences it, that instead of provoking, welcomes. Because at this specific point, it's not about the touch itself, but about what the touch represents. It's about saying with your mouth, but without voice. I'm here, I respect your story. I didn't come to demand, I came to care. And the most surprising thing is what happens afterward. Because even if he doesn't comment, even if he doesn't say a word about it, that kiss remains. It remains in his bodily, emotional, and even energetic memory. He can continue his day normally, work, talk, get distracted, but at a certain moment, perhaps in the middle of silence, the memory of that kiss returns. And not because it was sensual, but because it was sincere, because it was rare. Often what can touch him most isn't the most striking gesture, but the most unexpected. The touch where he didn't expect it, the attention where he thought he was invisible, the affection where he was never cared for. That's why he sees you differently, not just as someone he desires, but as someone he trusts. And trust for a man is the gateway to emotional bonding. Perhaps you've never noticed. Perhaps this place on the body has always seemed irrelevant to you, but now think about how you feel when someone touches you intentionally in an unexpected place, with love, with delicacy. It's this kind of feeling you awaken in him when you kiss this place. And that's why he doesn't forget, because it's not just a kiss, it's a moment of reconnection with a part of him that the world tries to silence. In many relationships, physical gestures become routine and predictable, but it's precisely these touches outside the script, like a gentle kiss on the inner part of the arm, that reignite the spark of intimacy, that remind both that there's still something unique happening there, something nobody else replaces. So next time you're together, don't wait for a grand moment. Wait for a true moment. Perhaps he's lying next to you with his arm over his head. Perhaps you're talking and you're close enough to reach this space. Take advantage of this moment not to seduce, but to offer, to say without hurry that he also deserves to be touched with delicacy. And when you do this, observe his reaction. Perhaps a sigh, perhaps a look, perhaps a slight shiver. And even if he says nothing, you'll know, because when the touch is genuine, the body reacts. And in this small gesture, you're not just offering affection, you're awakening trust, desire, and belonging. If you've made it this far, you probably understand that true love lives in these details. And if you want to continue exploring this more subtle and profound way of connecting with a man, subscribe to the channel. Here you'll always find content that respects your sensitivity and reminds you of the silent power you carry in the simplest touch. The back, where he carries the world, and you provide relief. There's a part of the male body to which almost nobody pays attention. It's not conventionally sensual, it's not commonly praised, it's rarely touched with emotional intention. But it's precisely there that one of the greatest silent burdens a man carries is concentrated. His back. The masculine back isn't just muscles and posture. It's a map of everything he endured in silence. It's connected with what he feels he must bear without complaining. There he stores his frustrations, his fears, the weight of others' expectations, and the demands he places on himself. It's the place where symbolically he sustains the world, even when nobody notices he's about to collapse. And perhaps that's exactly why a kiss on the back, light and unexpected, causes such impact. Because with this simple gesture, you break the weight. You touch exactly where he believes he needs to be strongest. And without a single word, you say you don't need to carry everything alone. There's nothing exaggerated about this touch. It's not explicit, it's not seductive in the traditional sense of the word, but it carries immense emotional force. The kiss on the back is a kind of caress that tears down the barriers of masculine pride. It's a caress that demands nothing, that doesn't charge for a response, that simply offers relief. Imagine a common moment. He's distracted, perhaps in the kitchen, perhaps getting dressed to go out, and suddenly you approach without warning and kiss him on the back. Nothing more. A slow, intentional kiss between the shoulder blades or along the spine. The reaction is almost always the same, a brief silence, a sigh, a slight relaxation, as if he said internally, "I needed this," and didn't even know it. This type of touch works because it accesses the unconscious. And according to Carl Jung, the collective unconscious is full of symbols we learn to recognize without ever being taught. The back, for the masculine archetype, represents sustenance, represents the structure that cannot fail. By kissing there, you send a profound signal to his unconscious. He's not alone. He has support. He can rest. In the comments on videos about this subject, many women say they had no idea how much this gesture meant. One wrote, That part about the back moved me. It's as if someone finally saw me completely. This is the essence of what we're talking about. Kissing the masculine back isn't just affection, it's recognition. It's seeing what he tries to hide and still remaining there. There's another point. The kiss on the back is a type of affection that happens outside of vision. He can't foresee it, doesn't see it coming, and this makes it more powerful because he doesn't have time to put on the armor, doesn't have time to protect himself with jokes or changing the subject. He feels, simply feels. This type of kiss enters emotional memory for a simple reason. It touches the most silent side of the man, the one he rarely exposes. It's the type of gesture that won't be shared with anyone, but will always be remembered. The kiss on the back is symbolically a reminder that he can exist without function, that with you he doesn't need to be useful, doesn't need to impress, he simply needs to be. It's important that this touch happens with presence. It shouldn't be automatic, it shouldn't be casual in the sense of distracted. What makes this kiss special is precisely the fact of being given with intention, albeit silent. You're not trying to prove anything, you're not expecting anything in return, you're simply there, present, attentive, caring without invading. And perhaps that's exactly why it works so well. Because in a world where men learn to always do, always decide, always resist, your kiss on the back offers exactly the opposite. A pause, a permission, an opportunity to simply breathe, to feel human. This gesture, when repeated with sincerity over time, creates something rare, emotional trust. He begins to perceive that there's a space where he can lower his guard, that with you he doesn't need to pretend all the time that everything is fine, that he can show his doubts, his fatigue, his silences, and still be loved. And when he feels this, when he truly believes he was seen whole, and not just the parts he proudly displays, something changes. He draws closer, he surrenders, because he feels he finally found someone with whom he can be complete. If you've never tried this, experiment in a simple moment. When he least expects it, approach him. Position your lips between his shoulders and remain there for 2-3 seconds. Nothing more. Don't say anything, just be there. It's precisely in these silent moments that true connection is born. The one that doesn't depend on words, the one that doesn't need proof, the one that resists even on days when everything seems difficult. If this type of love touches your heart, if you feel you want to learn to love with more truth, more presence, and more depth, stay close, because that's what we talk about. Bonds that aren't just beautiful, they're real. There's a gesture so small, so delicate, that almost everyone misses it, but when it happens, it leaves a mark in a way that can't be explained with words. It's the kiss on the eyelid. Yes, that silent touch, light, almost imperceptible, but loaded with meanings that go far beyond the skin. Because kissing the eyelid is touching where he doesn't see, but where he feels most, in the space between trust and surrender. We live in a culture that teaches men to always have their eyes open, to be vigilant, alert, strong. A man rarely lowers his guard. He observes, calculates, protects. His eyes don't just serve to see, they're his shield. That's why, when he closes his eyes in your presence, when he allows that moment of vulnerability, it's because, even without saying anything, he's saying everything. And it's exactly at this moment that the kiss on the eyelid becomes unforgettable. It's a gesture that doesn't need any special context. Sometimes you're beside him in silence after a tiring day. He leans his head, breathes deeply, closes his eyes, and you, in a delicate impulse, touch your lips there, without hurry, without wanting to impress, just to say with your skin what words don't reach. I'm here. You can rest with me. And he feels not just the touch, but what comes with it. Peace, surrender, trust. the right to let go of the world for a few seconds. The strength of this kiss lies precisely in its delicacy. It's the contrast that makes it striking. The world demands so much from him. It seems everything constantly tells him, be prepared, react, conquer, show you can handle it. But when you kiss his eyelid, you do the opposite. You say, here you can let go. Here you don't need to prove anything. This is the emotional contrast that triggers memory. It's the breaking of expectation that creates impact, because he's not used to this kind of affection, doesn't expect this kind of love. Psychologically, the eyelids are a deeply symbolic area. They're naturally the frontier between external and internal. Closing the eyes is an act of disconnection. It's trusting that for a few seconds the external world can wait. When you kiss a man there, you touch this frontier. You tell his subconscious, it's safe to go inside. That's why the kiss remains, because it doesn't just touch the skin. It penetrates the surface and goes straight where he most needs to be touched, where he can stop being what's expected and be himself. Such a gesture doesn't happen by chance. It requires presence, attention. It's the type of affection that can only arise from silent listening, from perceiving the right moment, from connecting with his body, not just as something that can be touched, but as something that needs to be understood. Because the kiss on the eyelid isn't about physical desire. It's about perceiving that sometimes the greatest intimacy is in silence, and that there are touches that say more than any passionate declaration. It's precisely in this silence that the narrative of this gesture lives. You don't need to say you care. You show it. You don't need to explain that he can trust you. He feels it. The absence of words becomes language, and this language is absorbed by something he can't control. Pure emotion, emotional memory, the kind that doesn't fade even when days pass, even when time distances itself. Perhaps he won't remember what was said, but he'll remember the moment when you made him close his eyes and kissed him there. In one of the most touching comments about this, a woman wrote, "It's as if the world stops for an instant when you kiss there. He doesn't see but feels everything." This phrase carries a powerful truth, because kissing the eyelid doesn't need to be seen to be felt. And perhaps that's exactly why it works so well. It flies under the radar of the rational, goes straight to the emotional area, and it's precisely there that it builds something no technique teaches: true emotional intimacy. In a relationship where love is built in layers, it's these small gestures that maintain depth. It's not the promises, it's the silent acts. It's not the intensity, but the constancy of touches. And it's there that the kiss on the eyelid becomes a symbol, a code between two bodies that understood each other without hurry, without performance, just with truth. In a world that demands constant strength from men, you become the place where they can lower their guard. And this place isn't a role you assume, it's a space you create with your touch, your presence, your silent listening. Kissing their eyelids makes you their home at the moment they most need shelter. And when he's alone, in silence, at the end of a difficult day, he might not even know why he misses you, but he will. He'll remember that feeling of peace that only you can bring. He'll close his eyes and for a second feel the weight of the world disappear again, because you touched where nobody touches, because you saw where nobody sees, because you loved where almost nobody reaches, and this he'll never forget. Some touches don't shout, don't announce themselves, they simply exist, delicate but impossible to ignore. And that's exactly what happens when you kiss a man on the side of the waist. This often neglected area carries a sensitivity as deep as it is silent. It's not an obvious place. And perhaps that's exactly why it's one of the most effective for awakening what most people never touch: emotional desire. The side of the waist is a frontier zone, neither completely intimate nor completely public. It's a middle ground where the physical meets the emotional. When you touch your lips there calmly, intentionally, without hurry, you're saying something the body immediately understands, even if the mind can't yet process it. You're saying, I'm here, I feel you, I want to feel you, but I also want you to feel seen. This gesture carries delicate attention. It's not an invasive kiss, nor purely sensual. It's loaded with presence. It's almost like a question that doesn't need to be answered with words. Will you really let me know you? It's precisely in this area that his body tends to tense, not just because of muscles or nerves, but because there, symbolically, he defends himself, protects his own vulnerability. By kissing him on this part of the body, what you're doing is more than affection. It's a permission, a silent invitation for him to surrender, not just to the moment, but to the connection. It's important to perceive that this area of the body is directly connected with the protective instinct. Biologically, the trunk is where the vital organs are. The waist is the center of balance. Symbolically, Jung spoke of the body as the mirror of the soul. So when you touch this area, you're touching more than muscles. You're reaching unconscious layers that connect this gesture with surrender, trust, and even emotional security. And there's a magic that only this area offers. It balances physical desire with emotional affection. Unlike other parts of the body that are directly linked to sex or tenderness, the side of the waist provokes and welcomes simultaneously. It's the type of touch that says, I desire you, but I also want to care for you. The technique here isn't in doing something complicated, it's in how you execute the gesture. A light kiss, almost whispered by your lips. A pause before continuing. A slow breath, shared, the intention to touch and remain, not just provoke a reaction. When you kiss him there without hurry, attentively, his body understands this moment is different. It's not routine, it's not impulse, it's feeling. And this is the key to deeply touching the masculine subconscious, showing him that with you, he can experience something new, even with an old gesture. Because what separates a true kiss from any kiss is intention. A follower perfectly summarized when she said, I thought only intense kisses left a mark. Now I realize the most delicate ones are the ones that stay forever. And she's right, because it's not intensity that marks a heart. It's what remains when everything calms down. At this point of the body, touch becomes language. You're not just saying with desire, I want you. You're saying, I want to be completely with you. And this presence for a man who his whole life was pressured to be strong, to solve everything, to not show emotions, is liberating. This kiss also plays a fundamental role in strengthening the emotional bond. When a man feels you recognize even the parts of him he considers insignificant, he creates with you a bond that transcends attraction. He begins to associate your presence with relief, with unexpected affection, with the possibility of being who he is without effort. You don't demand he impresses you. You're simply there offering warmth and care in a place he didn't even know he needed. And this gesture creates silent memories. They're the type of memories that surface when he's alone, lying in bed, trying to understand why he misses you. It wasn't the kiss itself. It was the feeling it left. The mixture between shiver and tenderness, the delicacy that came with true presence. The kiss on the waist is like a secret that stays between you. Something so intimate and delicate, it doesn't need to be explained, it just needs to be remembered. Don't underestimate this gesture. So it's delicate but profound. It seems small but has enormous emotional weight. It's not about conquering. It's about building. And when you understand this, you stop trying to be unforgettable because you simply become unforgettable. If this resonated with you, if this content opened your eyes to a type of connection more deep, more true, and more emotionally intelligent, then it's time to join this community. Here we don't talk about superficial love, we build love that transforms. Subscribe now and experience a relationship that not only leaves a mark, but